Hey guys, what's up? So this is going to be a video that's going to cover options and what exactly are options, how do we use them. I know people think it's extremely complicated, but it's very easy and it's very simple. A lot of these words are just finance words, and a lot of them are theoretical. A lot of these words that you see in books that you read, really turn people off because sometimes they'll never happen. Like exercising an option, that'll never really happen to you, in 99% of circumstances. But let's just start from the way beginning, right? We have a stock here, Apple. Now, Apple, you can see the price is at 238, right? Let's say, now here's a word we're going to introduce, a call. If we're going to buy a call, we want the stock to go up. We want the stock to go up as fast as possible because there's a time element to it. So there's either two things you can do. You can buy a call, meaning you want it to go up, or you can buy a put, meaning you want it to go down. Now, I don't get further than that. Sometimes there's different, what they would call legs, buying two calls and one put, buying a call and put at the same time. I can cover that in another video. For right now, we're just going to stick to buying one call or buying one put. We either think it's going to go up or we think it's going to go down. So the next thing we can do, just a quick thing we can do is you go to Yahoo Finance and we type in Apple. On the left-hand side, you're going to see the word options. And then you're going to get hit with all of these numbers. Crazy, right? But there's only a few things we're going to do here. We're going to go down to where the blue meets the white. So keep scrolling. Ah, there we go. That's called at the money. Okay. So remember what was price around 238? That's in between where the blue meets the white. Okay. Now, let me just scroll back up real quick because there's something important here. These are all based on different expiration dates. So January 17th, meaning that if I were to buy a call contract, and you don't even need to think of it like a contract, it's really just an entity. If I buy one call entity or one, call contract, let's just say, you can buy as many of them as you want. Um, but if I buy one of them or any of them, they expire January 17th. So they'll either expire worthless or I have to sell them off. Okay. Um, so if you go, you could see it has a lot of dates here. January 17th, 24th, 31st, 7th, 14th. You can go all the way till next year. You can go till January 5th, 2027, doing it by years. It just gets more expensive, right? To buy. Those are called leaps. I could do a whole nother video about leaps. Um, it just means that you're going to take time out of it instead of buying the shares. Um, you want the benefit of buying the option without the time. But let's just say we stick with January 17th. We go to at the money where the blue meets the white. And this is what it looks like on most brokerages, right? So it's not like Yahoo Finance is that special. It's just easy. This is the number we want to look at. This is the ask column. We buy at the ask, we sell at the bid. So if I buy this for 82 cents, okay, 82 cents right here, that means that I'm buying it really for $82, okay? Now, that means I want it price to go up. I think price can easily get above 240. Now, let's say, do you think price can get above 240, 250? If now let's go back to the chart. Where's 240, 250? That's about right here. Do you think it can get above there by Friday? If yes, or you think it could definitely clear it, then it's cheaper. It's only $28 per contract. Now, the further out you go, the cheaper it gets. Yes, but it's riskier. The further in you go, it's more conservative, okay, but it's more expensive. Now, here's some things that you want to look out for. You want there to be in the your ask and bid a small differential. Okay, so the ask minus the bid, you want that to be very small. If I see a 15 cent or 20 cent differential or difference, I'm not interested in that. Or I might put a limit order in the middle of both those numbers. But I really do want there to be, I want to find a strike. These are all strike prices here, by the way. These are all called strike prices. So what I want to do is I want to find something that is 82 cents minus 78 cents. Okay, that's 4 cents. Now, in that 4 cents, that's an 8, right? Yeah, so 4 cents. If I were to buy this at $82, 82 cents, $82, that's one contract I'm buying. If I were to sell that immediately, I would have to sell that for 78. So think about that. Why would I want to buy something and then sell it for a huge differential later? So that's why a lot of people will try to put limit prices, um, so they can get it closer to the bid. I usually just go in at market. I don't really care that much. We're talking about a dollar or two sometimes. Um, you know, Now today Apple went up about 2%. Okay. Apple went up 2%. We can, Yahoo Finance can tell us that about 1.8%, about 2%. The option here went up around 100% for these strikes, 95% for these strikes, but only 55% for this one and 16 for this one. Why the difference? Okay. So yesterday, if you would have picked this one, um, you would have basically doubled it. Okay. So if you bought this for around 90 cents or $90, it would have gone up $100 profit. Okay. That's what this column is here. It went up around a little over 100%, which means it doubled. You can see over here, this column is the open interest. This column is the volume. You want there to be um, more open interest than volume. Sometimes there might be a little bit more volume, but you want there to be a lot of open interest. Apple's a great stock to play options on because there's always plenty of open interest. Open interest plus volume equals the word action. So when you hear people say, oh, there's a lot of action on the 240s for January 17 for Apple, that's what they mean. A lot of open interest plus volume. Okay. Now, I want to find the ones with the most open interest, also with the most volume. Now, I want something usually with around a little bit more than 1,000 volume, so these 255s are only $1 each. That might be very interesting. I could buy one for $1. I could buy the 250s for $2, and they might double and go to $4. I could buy these for $3, these for $9, the 245s. Now, what I want to do is shop around for a deal. How do I do that? So if let's say I go to January 17, I go to January 24. So now this is interesting, right? If we can see that price didn't go up as much because time, as you go further out into time, it's more conservative. So these expire not this Friday, but next Friday. So we're giving ourselves more time. As if price goes sideways and doesn't go up, we're going to lose money because it's time decay. Think of it like you opened a really expensive bottle of wine and then you just let it sit there for a couple of days. Every day that it sits there, it's gonna just start losing value until you do something about it, until you sell it to the next person. That's what options is sort of. So if you're looking for a move to happen quickly, depending on how much time you have. Now, sometimes what I like to do is, go out as far as I can, but I always want to keep my pricing somewhere between 30 cents or $30 to somewhere around $2 or $200. So I don't want to pay more than that's my range usually, 30 cents to $2, $30 to 200, right? Now, I want to shop around different. I want to have enough time for my play to work out, okay? And I want there to be more vo open interest and volume in comparison to its neighboring strikes. What does that mean? So that means that um, if I were to look here, I would see that the 245s have a lot of action here, right? 8,000, 11,000, okay? Um, More than its neighboring strikes, that action. But also, it looks like a lot of people are playing these 250s for $17. So if this starts to go up, this can easily double or triple or quadruple, right? So on all the way to the right, this is IV. This is called implied volatility. The sweet spot for now, Apple is a really large company. It doesn't have a large implied volatility. But what you have to know about implied volatility is the range usually, and this is all my checklist, by the way, and the resources. But IV, you want that sweet spot to be somewhere between like, I would say like 30 to 80%, Now it's not the end of the world. Now, if it's like 250%, that's getting a little ridiculous. That's like when GameStop or AMC starts to skyrocket out of control, or some of these, and then sometimes you have a stock like it doesn't move at all, like AT&T might have like 8% implied volatility. But Apple's fine having a 20% implied volatility. That's fine. But again, somewhere around like 50 to 80% is like a good number. That's a more secondary thing, but I try to look at these neighboring strikes, look at the prices, try to find a good deal. Are these $64 ones a good deal? Or maybe should I go for these $17 ones? Mind you, I could buy five of these or four of these, where maybe I can only afford to buy one or two of these. So as it goes up, I could start to sell off my contracts and then keep one, like if let's say I have two contracts and one of them goes to 100%, I could sell one of them and then the other one could just keep going. And no matter what, I still am going to make 100. I'm still not going to lose any money on those two calls that I bought because one already doubled itself. Okay. So if I buy two calls for $50 each, and uh that would equal $100, and then one of those $50 calls doubles itself, the other one can go to zero, and I've still broken even. So I always try to find one where I could buy multiple calls. Now, if I just want to show you an example, if I keep going out time-wise, let's go to February 21st. You're going to see that the pricing on these is going to get a lot more expensive. Okay. And so the shorter time, the riskier it is, and the less expensive it is. It's more expensive to have more time, but it's also more conservative. Okay. And obviously it's more conservative to go back more in the money. So that's just a quick little, blurb about options. The opposite would be puts. You could scroll down here to puts, just the opposite. You would buy a put. Um, so if you were to buy a put at market, you would you would close your put if it starts to if your contract price starts to go up, if the underlying price moves down. If Apple moves down, then these prices are going to go up. And if you own one of these, then you can close it out for profit. Now, eventually, like I said, you can start to make two calls and one put. You can start to get creative with it. But I always go back to Apple options as a good explanation and it's always a solid stock to play options on, because a lot of these other companies like Tesla and Nvidia and Netflix, like that just gets so insane. Some of these are priced so high, 2,200 or $3,500 or $5,500 per contract, right? So Apple, for some reason, has always been affordable given the amount of time, and they always have plenty of open interest and in volume. So if you're stuck on what to play, Apple is always a really, really good one. And once it starts to move up, you can start to buy a call and close it out, buy another one, close it out. So again, just a quick little blurb on option pricing and what are options. Again, it's just your leverage. It's a better way to leverage than just buying the shares. The shares, you could hold them for life, but these you can only hold them for a certain amount of time. Um, so uh, Yeah. Also, a question I get a lot is how much can you lose with this? You can only lose the amount of the contract. So if you buy the 255s for $1.61 each, and I buy one of them, I can only lose $161. I can't lose more than that. Okay. So you can only lose the amount that you put in. You can't lose more than that. You don't need to own any previous stock before that. You could just buy the contracts. So I think what people are confused about is what they would say covered calls, where you have 100 shares and then you sell a call against it. I don't even really care for that strategy. I'm just buying calls and buying puts right now. And that's all I really need to be concerned about. And how to read an options chain because it's the same everywhere on every broker. So we'll start with that and then we'll keep going. So any questions on this? Again, you can always reach out to me or ask someone in the group.